Hey guys, we're looking at XCOM 2 War of the Chosen running on the i5-1135G7. Now, the game is currently running at 1080p with the lowest possible settings, and the performance is, well, it's not too bad considering the game is a turn-based game. Be very forgiving to FPS because you're not actively playing anything, and there is no worries of the enemy just surprising you because the performance is bad. This could pretty much just be running at half this frame rate, and it would still technically be playable. Overall, though, it's not going to be a very smooth experience, and things like the animations aren't going to look too great. This reminds me of actually playing the original XCOM on the iPad, because they actually released a iPad version of that, and it was surprisingly playable, but it very much ran at these kinds of frame rates or even worse. So you can definitely get away with playing like this, but it's not going to look amazing and it's not going to feel amazing. Though again, it's a turn-based game. There's really not much that the FPS is really going to matter because everything's just going to play out on itself. The input that you have is not really going to be affected at all by the FPS. So really all it comes down to is whether or not you can stomach the lower FPS animations. I mean, for a lot of people that really doesn't matter. 30 FPS is enough for them, and these 20 FPSs might not even be that bad for them, considering the fact that it's just animation. It's not really something that you're actually controlling. I think in general, turn-based games like this really lend themselves to this specific type of chip because it's not going to be able to get you maximum FPS, but that really doesn't matter in this kind of game. Like, this is the kind of game that I would be playing on this laptop because it's not going to really bother me in terms of the gameplay. With that said, though, I don't think I would play it at 1080p. I'd much rather play it at 720p, where we can see that the averages actually start to hit some really decent numbers. A 54 FPS average is going to feel very smooth, and just the experience here, it was good enough that I'm happy with this. I would rather play like this than have the lower FPS of 1080p, because visually speaking, 720p really doesn't bother me too much on a 14-inch screen, and the FPS just feels nicer. Just moving around the map and all of that just feels better. It's not really going to be debilitating if you play it at 1080p and have lower FPS, because again, moving around the map smoother isn't really affecting the gameplay as much. It's just a quality of life improvement that I'm willing to sacrifice some resolution for. And in this situation, those 1% lows really don't matter at all, because again, the 1% lows aren't going to affect anything. You're not going to feel that because you're not really controlling anything. Being a turn-based game, it pretty much doesn't matter what ends up happening in terms of the performance most of the time. It could be stuttering a lot during combat, and that still won't necessarily affect the game. That's why games like this and Civilizations are just perfect to pair with these low-end laptops, because the performance doesn't really matter as much. 20 FPS gets you a lot more gameplay in something like that than it would in something like Call of Duty. But anyways, I hope you found this video useful. If you did, please be sure to subscribe, and I will see you guys next time.